Hello and welcome to a new video. In this video, I'm going to be going over everything that you need to know to be playing Katarina. That includes her abilities, combos, builds, runes, spells, her setups, and everything that you need to know, like from team fights and a bunch of tips and tricks I have for Katarina personally. I know this guide's a bit long, however, if you watch the full guide, I promise you that your Katarina will be taken to the next level and you'll be able to play her at least at a diamond elo level. So with that, let's get straight into the video. Alright, so first we're going to be going over Katarina's abilities, but before we go into the abilities, I just quickly want to talk about her passive. It's an extremely powerful passive where your takedowns will reduce all your ability cooldowns by 15 seconds, and this includes your ultimate. So it'll reset all your cooldowns for your first 3 skills, but your ultimate will not be reset. It probably takes 2 to 3 takedowns to reset your ultimate, unless your first 2 kills take a while to get. But other than that, that's your passive, and it's really powerful in getting chain kills, and where you can use your ultimate twice or even 3 times if you're able to get enough kills. So that's what her passive does. Alright, so Katarina's first skill is actually her daggers, and now her daggers can bounce to up to 3 enemies. However, it will always land behind the first enemy that you threw it to. And this skill is really great because it helps you in the laning phase when you want to CS, and it's her main setup for daggers that are kind of far away from her. So this is the skill that you want to be using when you want to set up daggers a bit more far away, and it can also be used to set up daggers, like if the enemy team is clumped, then you might want to set up a dagger to hit all of them and engage. So it's just a great ability, and a trick that you can do with this skill is if you use it on like a jungle camp, you can actually go over walls and stuff. So that's also important to note. So Katarina's second skill basically drops a dagger behind her, and this is pretty good because you can use it as kind of a move speed boost to dodge skill shots and other things that are coming behind you. You can also use it to kite enemies and set up flanks. It's a pretty straightforward skill, and it's pretty useful in certain situations. And yeah, you'll basically get used to using her kit the more you play her. So that's her second skill. So Katarina's third skill is blink, and you can use it to blink towards enemies, and it can blink over walls, and you can use to escape things like Jarvan ult or any kind of thing that will trap you. It also is an auto attack reset, so you can do something like auto attack, third skill auto attack, and it's used in a lot of her combos. The cooldown of this skill gets really reduced if you are able to pick up a dagger, so you want to be doing that as much as possible. In the late game, the cooldown gets reduced enough to the point where it's almost instantaneous, but in the early game, it'll be a little bit less instantaneous, and you'll have to wait a little bit before picking up her dagger again. So the last skill that we're going to be talking about today is Katarina's ultimate, and they changed this from the PC version, but it's absolutely broken. So as you can see, you can actually move while using Katarina ult. I mean, how OP is that? So when you use her ultimate, you can actually move slightly while using her ultimate, and this ultimate is a great ability, both just like for team fights or for solo kills. It also applies grievous wounds, meaning that people can't heal or do anything while they're being hit. So it's just kind of OP because now you can move while using it. It's also important to know that her ult does not hit more than 3 enemy champions. However, it's still broken because there's hardly going to be a time where you're going to be needing to hit more than 3 enemy champions. So yeah, pretty broken ult. Alright, so the first combo that we're going to be learning with Katarina is basically something I already said before, but since her third skill is an auto attack reset, you can use her auto attack, then a third skill, and then another auto attack to quickly proc electrocute, as well as deal a quick 3-hit combo. So yeah, it just looks like that, and it's pretty potent in lane. Yeah, it's just a great combo to know overall. You can quickly proc electrocute by using this combo. So Katarina's second combo that you're going to learn is basically using your first skill on a target, and then if they stay near your dagger, then you can use your third skill to go in and damage them. After that, you want to be dropping your second dagger and auto attacking, and then using your third skill and then auto attacking again. So this is basically to punish an enemy if they stay near your first dagger, and basically a great combo to deal damage. Alright, so now we're going to be going into one of Katarina's combos that she can use with her ult. So what you want to do is dash behind your target and use your second skill so that it will fall onto you and proc. And then use your first skill to hit your sword in the opposite direction and then ult them. So basically this will force them to go towards your sword, to which after you can dash to there and then you can hit them. So this is basically a pretty nice combo where you force the enemy to go near your blade and then you can just damage them, or you force them just to stay in your ult, which will hurt them a lot. So now I'm going to be going over Katarina's combo that she wants to be using to basically surprise a backline and just to deal damage when an enemy is off their guard. So what you want to do is first you want to gap close by using your third skill and then flashing onto the enemy target, then using your first skill to put a sword, your first skill and then your second skill to put swords, and then use an auto attack, dash towards your other blade, and then auto attack again. So auto third skill auto at the end, and basically this will surprise a backline and allow you to just dish out damage to a target that the enemy's not expecting and the enemy thinks that they're safe. However, if you use your flash, you can gap close and then use a combo onto them. Alright, so now I'm going to be going over a really unpredictable and flashy combo that you can do with Katarina. And it really isn't too hard, and it's something that you're going to use pretty often. So basically, you're going to use your first skill on a target where it's going to land in a bunch of groups. And once you see the opportunity, you can jump and basically hit everyone in the AoE, and then use your second skill and flash to get out. After that, you can blink right back onto the blade and then ult them, and this will surprise your enemies and it looks really flashy. Alright, so the first item in Katarina's build is Hextech Gunblade, which gives her both attack damage and ability power, as well as a great passive to catch up to enemies and kill them. The item also gives some physical and magic vamp that's super useful for having sustain in lane. The second item that you can go for is Infinity Orb, and this will help you to have more max health and ability power, which will give you more sustain and more damage. So this item will also give you a bit of move speed and magic penetration. Also, you'll deal more damage to enemies that are lower in health, so this will help you to finish off those kills and deal enough damage. So the next item that you want to be going for is a boot item. You can also rush this item if you need to, if you want to be more impactful for a dragon fight, or if you really need a certain enchant. For your boot item, you want to be going for Mercury Treads, Ninja Tabbies, or Boots of Lucidity. If you're snowballing super hard and you need that cooldown reduction, I recommend going for the Lucidity Boots, as you will get that cooldown reduction to deal enough damage during team fights. The second boot item that you can go for are Ninja Tabbies, and this will give you more armor. So if you are facing a team comp that has a bunch of AD, then you want to be taking this item. The last item that you can go for are Mercury Treads, and this will help you to resist more slow, as well as have some magic resist. So if the enemy team has lots of AP, then you want to be going for these boots. The boot enchant that you want to be going on Katarina is pretty situational. You can be going for either Hourglass or Quicksilver Sash, and these are the two that I would usually recommend. So you want to be going for the Hourglass, when the enemy team has lots of burst damage. For example, if they have Zed or Fizz or someone that can just burst you down, then you want to be going for the Hourglass. The other one that you can be going for is the Quicksilver Sash, and this is when the enemy team has more roots and stuns. Like for example, if they have any kind of CC that can root or stun you that is pretty consistent, then you want to be taking QSS. That way you don't get your combos ruined and you can escape very sticky situations with that extra movement speed and resist to CC that it gives you. The last enchant that you can go for is Proto Belt, and you want to be going for Proto Belt when you need that extra dash, and the dash can actually really help you pick up blades and do really cool stuff. So if you want to be going for Proto Belt, that's also completely fine. Next item that you want to be going for is Rabadons, and this is probably the biggest power spike for any AP mid laner, and it is a required item, and this item will basically be your biggest power spike in magic damage. So after that, you want to be going for two situational items. The first situational item that you can be going for is Awakened Soul Stealer, and this is an item that you can buy a bit earlier into the build if you are really snowballing. This item only costs 2,500 gold, one of the cheapest full items that you can buy. However, it only works really well if you are getting takedowns. So if you find yourself snowballing in the game and you want your ult cooldown to be reduced even more, then you want to buy this item so that you can get those stacks and reduce the cooldown of your ultimate. The other situational item that you can go for is Morlanomicon if you need the extra damage, and especially if you need the Grievous Wounds. The Grievous Wounds is really what you're buying this item for if you're up against a lot of healing, like a healing mage like Soraka, or you're up against Fiora or Dr. Mundo or someone where you need Morlanomicon, then you can buy this item. And the last situational item that I can recommend in this guide is Void Staff, and you want to be buying Void Staff when the enemy has lots of magic resist or they have lots of MR and they're building against you, then you want to build a Void Staff. So those are the situational items for Katarina. If you want to go look at the full list of situational items, you can go watch my full itemization guide. There should be a link on the screen and also a link in the description down below. For Katarina's rune setup, I recommend taking as her keystone rune Electrocute. And the reason why I take Electrocute is because you have these kind of burst combos where you have these 3-hit burst combos that you want to be hitting people with Electrocute with, as with most assassins. So the second rune that you want to be taking is Triumph, and the reason why you want to be taking Triumph is because you can gain 10% missing health every time you get a kill. So not only will your cooldowns all reset when you get a kill, you'll also gain some health, and this will allow you to do those 1v5 pentakills and those juicy plays that you always want to be going for with Katarina. The other rune that you can be taking is Champion, and this is like for the Katarinas that are like super confident. Like if you're really confident in your skill and you're confident that you won't die, then just take Champion, as you'll get a 10% damage increase throughout the entire game, and this will just help you snowball super hard if you can get that snowball rolling with Katarina and allow you to gain a flat 10% extra damage against champions. So for your resolve rune, I would recommend taking Hunter Titan, because this will actually allow you to snowball so hard throughout the entire game. Again, for getting kills, you'll get 20% max health and 4% tenacity, which means you'll be less affected by slows, stuns, and other CC. Or you can be taking a defensive rune. However, most of the time I recommend taking Hunter Titan. So for your last rune, I'd recommend taking Hunter Genius. So again, this is for a full snowball setup so that you can get that cooldown reduction every time you get a kill. If you do gain enough cooldown reduction, you can get that third skill reset really quickly, like really early on into the game. If you are able to get the kills, then you can get the immediate reset pretty early on into the game if you take this rune. So those are the runes for Katarina. You can also go Sweet Tooth if you want for your third rune if you're having trouble laning, but you really shouldn't be taking Sweet Tooth. Try to take a rune that will maximize your damage with Katarina, as that's what she is really great at. Alright, so for Katarina's spells, I would recommend taking Flash and Ignite most of the time, as I recommend with most of the other mid laners that are assassins. So the reason why you take Flash is for the versatility and the combos. You can do so many tricky stuff with Flash and also engage and disengage with Flash. That's why you should be taking Flash with Katarina. The other spell that you should be taking is Ignite, especially if you want to burst people down, and also if you're laning against someone that has a lot of healing. Ignite is always a great option. The only other spell that you can really take is Barrier if you want more sustain, so you can use it right before using your ult, or if you're laning against someone like Zed or Fizz that you have trouble laning against. But really, you shouldn't be taking Barrier most of the time. Most of the time, I would recommend either taking Flash or Ignite. The last spell that you can consider taking is Exhaust if you want to keep people in your ult range. So if you really want to get the max value out of your ult, then taking Exhaust isn't too bad of an option. So those are Katarina's spells. Alright, so my first tip with Katarina, I know I've said this in some of my other guides, but I just want to emphasize that this is one of the most important things that you do as an assassin mid laner, and that is proper roaming. So you want to be roaming and impacting the map and snowballing your lead every single game, and that's how you can consistently win games. If you want to win games consistently, you need to roam. So a really good roam timer is when you hit exactly level 5, and then you can go to the enemy jungler and look to kill them, or you can go gank another lane. So what this will do is help you snowball and also help your other laners snowball, and it's just basically a win-win for everyone, where you can just like snowball out of control and just win games pretty quickly and pretty fast, because you want to be ending games from the early to mid game, because there are other hyperscaling mages in the mid lane, and you want to be able to end games a bit more quickly than them. So my first tip for you is to roam properly. If you don't know how to roam properly, or why your roams aren't working, then you can go watch my roaming guide. So my second tip for you is during team fights. I know sometimes there is a really juicy dagger in the middle of like 5 enemies. However, the thing is, if one of those enemies has a stun or like a root or something that can CC you, like hard CC you, then you're basically dead. So you need to be sure that when you go in that you won't get CC'd immediately, especially in high elo. People already know that Katarina is going to jump in there when her dagger's inside. So even when I'm playing a control mage, I'm aiming my CC right at the dagger, so that if they do jump in, you already know that I'm just going to CC that Katarina. So what you want to be looking to do is to really think about when you should go in, and during team fights, use your allies as kind of meat shields to absorb those high impact abilities, and look for flanks or unexpected routes that the enemy is doing. So yeah, you don't want to be the first one to engage onto enemy champions. You want to be looking to have your teammates soak up those high impact abilities and then go in when the enemy team has their abilities on cooldown. The only way that you should be the first one to engage is maybe when you're extremely fed, but yeah, overall it's just better to have your teammates kind of soak up those kind of things. So that's my tip for Katarina during team fights. Alright, so thank you so much for watching. If you did make it this far, please leave a comment telling me that you did, so I can give you a shout out in my next video. I love each and every one of you. I'm sorry that this guide was a little bit late than my other guides, because I couldn't predict the release of Katarina. I didn't know that she was going to be released so early, but I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. These guides do take a hell of a long time to make, so please tell me if you want to see more, and please like and comment and subscribe. And yeah, thanks so much for watching the guide. And with that, I will see you soon. Bye!